Alright, so what I'm going to be doing in today's video is I'm going to take every single team that's in the NHL, replace them with an international team, and we are going to simulate and see who dominates the hockey world. So we are going to have teams like Team Finland, Team France, Team Germany, Team Canada, you get the deal. Basically, only international teams in the entire NHL. I believe there's only 20 or 21 international teams in NHL 23. So the rest of the NHL is filled with very bad European teams because you can't put international teams in franchise mode. EA Sports, it's in the game. But regardless, we have the entire NHL now is only international teams. So yes, we have all the international teams that are in NHL 23 like Canada, Great Britain, Hungary, Austria, Kazakhstan, Finland, France. You get the point. The rest of the teams, I mean, this team is from Europe, but they're not very good, so I just had to fill the rest of the roster out. I had to fill the rest of the league out because it wouldn't allow me to just put 21 teams in a season mode. And unfortunately, you cannot add any international teams into franchise mode. Well, because EA Sports, it's not in the game unless it makes us money. So we are going to roll along with this and we are going to simulate and see who dominates the hockey world. Now let's find out who's going to go on and win the Stanley Cup. If you enjoy videos like this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I post pretty much every second day and we are on our way to 10,000 subscribers. Want to help us get there? All right, now let's get into the video. At the end of year number 1, Team Sweden, oh my god, they won 78 games? Are you kidding me? They went 78-4, finishing with 156 points. Team Canada came in second place with 74 wins. Actually, they were tied with Team USA, followed by Czechia, who had 70, Finland 68, Switzerland 59. I just cannot get over the fact that Team Sweden won 78 games. Mikko Rantanen is going to lead the entire NHL in goals with 69 and points with 141. Yes, he actually put up 141 points in 82 games, followed by Patrick Kane's 134, Brad Marchand had 129, Connor McDavid 127, Mitch Marner 126, Leon Draisaitl 121, Barkov had 121, Matthews 119, and Nathan McKinnon had 112. For goals, other than Rantanen, it was Patrick Kane who had 68, Leon Draisaitl 63, Connor McDavid 57, Austin Matthews 57. Miro Heiskanen is going to lead all defensemen in points with 101, only 18 goals but 83 assists, followed by Roman Jossi's 94, Mo Seider 91, Cale Makar 81, Adam Fox 80, Erik Karlsson 74, and Victor Hedman 70. Connor Hellebuck is going to have the most wins by any goalie with 57, followed by UC Saros is 50, Linus Ullmark 49, Vanacek 49. And for shutouts, oh my god, the league was on steroids. Darcy Kemper is going to finish first with 17 shutouts, followed by Connor Hellebuck 16, Vanacek 16, Yaroslav Halak had 15, UC Saros 14. And here is our year 1 playoff matchups. Who's going to go on to win the Stanley Cup? And in the Stanley Cup final, it is actually going to be Finland versus Sweden, who will go on to take home the Stanley Cup in year number 1. Hey yo, Canada, you lost to Czechia in 6 games in the second round. And Team Sweden is going to go on to win the Stanley Cup as they beat Team Finland in the Stanley Cup final in 4 games, a clean sweep. I mean, it wasn't even close. Sweden was by far the best team in the NHL this season. They won damn near 78 games. They were just a juggernaut this season, absolutely unbeatable. Nobody was even close. Team Sweden was the best team in the NHL. William Karlsson is actually going to take home the Conn Smythe for Team Sweden. And here comes the captain of Team Sweden, Erik Karlsson, coming to lift the Stanley Cup for the very first time in his career. And in year number 1, Team Sweden is on top of the hockey world as they dominate their way to a Stanley Cup. I mean, come on now, winning damn near 80 games and going on and just blasting everybody in the playoffs and then sweeping in the Stanley Cup finals. Team Sweden, man, they might go on and win 5 straight Stanley Cups. You never know. For the playoffs, Mikko Rantanen is going to have the most points with 30. He will also have 11 goals, followed by Alexander Barkov's 28, Patrick Laine 27, David Pastrnak 23, William Nylander 22. Wait a minute, how the hell did William Nylander not win the Conn Smythe? He had 5 goals, 17 assists for 22 points. Brad Marchand is going to win the Ted Lindsay and the Hart Trophy, while Mikko Rantanen is going to take home the Art Ross and the Maurice Richard. Miro Heiskanen is going to win the Norris. Patrick Kane wins the Lady Byng. Connor Hellebuck is going to win the Vezina, and Anze Kopitar is going to win the Selke Trophy. At the end of year 2, Team Sweden is yet again going to finish first in the entire NHL, going 74-6-2, so a slightly worse record than last season, followed by Team Canada 73, Finland had 72 wins, USA had 70, Czechia 67. Connor McDavid is going to have the most points in the NHL with 133, followed by Leon Draisaitl's 122, Patrick Kane 122, Mitch Marner 122, Brad Marchand had 121, David Pastrnak 119, Elias Pettersson 119, Mikko Rantanen 118, and Matthew Tkachuk 116. For goals, Pasta would have the most at 71, followed by Philip Forsberg 62, Leon Draisaitl 61, Connor McDavid 60, Brad Marchand had 57, Patrick Kane 57, Mikko Rantanen 56, and Alex DeBrincat 50. For defensemen, Adam Fox is going to have the most points at 92, followed by Erik Karlsson's 83, Victor Hedman 81, Cale Makar would have 80, Rasmus Dahlin 79, Connor Hellebuck is going to have the most wins by any goalie with 53, followed by UC Saros' 50, Vanacek 50, Genoe 50. Who is this? Leonardo Genoe. Linus Ullmark had 48 and Philip Grubauer had 46. And this is our year 2 playoff matchups. Will Team Sweden go back-to-back and win another Stanley Cup? Or are teams like USA and Canada gonna rebound and actually make the Stanley Cup final? And in the Stanley Cup final, we have a matchup for the ages. We have Team Canada versus Team Sweden. Who is gonna take home the Stanley Cup in year number 2? And Team Canada is gonna go on to win the Stanley Cup as they beat Team Sweden in the Stanley Cup final in Game 7. It was a back and forth series, but Canada would come out on top. I mean, series cannot get any closer than that, man. Game 7, 1-goal game, but Team Canada is going to dethrone Sweden in the Stanley Cup final. Connor McDavid is going to take home the Conn Smythe for Team Canada. Very well deserved. I mean, he's the GOAT, right? And here comes the captain, Connor McDavid, coming to lift the Stanley Cup also for his first time in his entire career, and he's lifting it high for Team Canada, baby, representing his country. I mean, it does not get any better than that. He's going to pass it off to Sid the Kid, Sidney Crosby. I mean, he's not a kid anymore. He's like 35 years old. He's actually pretty old, but still, there you go, boys. In year number 2, Team Canada is going to take home the Stanley Cup. Connor McDavid would have the most goals in the playoffs with 14 and points with 29, followed by Nathan MacKinnon's 28, Mitch Marner 25, Brad Marchand 23, Matthew Tkachuk 20. Connor McDavid is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, the Art Ross, and the Hart Trophy, while Pasta, he's going to take home the Maurice Richard. Adam Fox is going to take home the Norris, the Lady Bing to Connor McDavid. UC Saros is going to win the Vezina, and Alexander Barkov is going to take home the Selke. Yet again, Team Sweden is going to absolutely dominate and finish first in the NHL, going 75-5-2, followed by Team Canada, who had 74, USA had 71, Czechia 71, Germany 67. Team Japan was all the way down at the bottom with only 20 wins, 58 losses, and 4 overtime losses, good enough for 44 points. I mean, that's tough. Connor McDavid is going to go full Wayne Gretzky, having the most goals with 74 and points with 186 in the entire NHL, followed by Patrick Kane's 151.
151 rum. Pineapple juice and Malibu. Okay, I'm done.
Pasta had 132, Draisaitl 129, Matthews 123, Timmy Stu 123, Matthew Tkachuk 120. For goals, other than McDavid, it was Draisaitl with 72, Patrick Kane had 72, Pasta had 69, Matthews 62, Marchand 57, Alex DeBrincat 55. For defensemen, Heiskanen and Fox are going to tie for the most points with 97, followed by Roman Jossi's 85, Mo Seider 79, Charlie McAvoy 75, and Cale Makar 75. For goalies, Vanacek's going to have the most wins at 55, followed by Connor Hellebuck's 52, UC Saros 51, Linus Ullmark 50. Yeah, the usual is at the top yet again. And this is our year 3 playoff matchups. Will we have a repeat in the finals with Canada and Sweden? Sweden getting the revenge, or Canada going back-to-back? Or is there a new team that's going to go on and win the Stanley Cup in year number 3? And we have a rematch from last season's Stanley Cup final between Canada and Sweden. Will Sweden get the revenge over Canada, or is Canada going to go back-to-back and win the Stanley Cup yet again? And Team Sweden is going to get the revenge over Canada as they beat them in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Yet again, it was a very close series, but Team Sweden is going to pull it off in Game 7 with a 4-0 victory, a shutout, and they are yet again Stanley Cup champions. 2 Stanley Cups in 3 years, not bad at all. And Victor Hedman is going to take home the Conn Smythe for Team Sweden. Victor Hedman is an absolute giant. Yet again, here comes the captain, Erik Karlsson, coming to lift the Stanley Cup for the second time in the simulation. Team Sweden is yet again Stanley Cup champions. I mean, all 3 years they were the best team in the NHL in the regular season, so I would say it was very well deserved. Congrats to them winning the Stanley Cup in year number 3. There it is, PD baby, Elias Pettersson lifts the Stanley Cup. Connor McDavid is going to have the most points in the playoffs with 34, followed by William Nylander's 23, Alexander Barkov 23, and Mikko Rantanen 22. Cale Makar had 21, Gabriel Landeskog Landeskog 20, Elias Lindholm 19. Lindholm would actually have the most goals in the playoffs with 11. Mikko Rantanen would have 10. Connor McDavid is the greatest player of all time. Adam Fox would take home the Norris. McDavid would get the Lady Bing yet again. Janoni is going to win the Vezina for Team Switzerland. And Alexander Barkov is yet again going to take home the Selke. Alright, so at the end of year number 3, Team USA is actually going to finish first in the NHL with 78 wins and only 4 losses. They basically won all their games in the regular season. Followed by Team Sweden, who had 77 wins. Team Canada, 73. Finland, 71. And Czechia, 68. McDavid is going to lead the NHL in points yet again. He had 137, followed by Mitch Marner's 135. Mikko Rantanen, 131. Patrick Kane, 128. Alexander Barkov had 124. Brad Marchand had 123. Pasta had 119. And Austin Matthews had 119. For goals, Pasta would have the most at 66, followed by DeBrincat, who had 63. Patrick Kane had 62. Mikko Rantanen had 60. Matthews had 59. Forsberg, 56. Marshy had 54. And McDavid had 52. For defensemen, Roman Josi is going to have the most goals at 35 and the most points at 99. That is one insane year for a defenseman. Followed by Adam Fox is 93. Miro Heiskanen had 92. Cale Makar, 87. I gotta be honest, Cale Makar has been pretty disappointing so far in the simulation. Erik Karlsson had 83. Dougie Hamilton, 76. And Victor Hedman, 75. For goalies, UC Saros is going to win 60 games, only losing 8 and 1 in overtime. That is insane. 17 shutouts. Oh my god, Linus Ullmark had 28 shutouts, winning 58 games, only losing 1. God damn, these goalie stats are insane, man. Connor Hellebuck, 154. Vanacek, 54. And Yaroslav Halak, 54. For shutouts, Ullmark obviously is going to have the most at 28. Followed by Marc-Andre Fleury, who had 23. UC Saros, 17. I still cannot get over Linus Ullmark, man. 28 shutouts in 60 games. That is insane. That's nearly half the games he played. He got a shutout. And this is our year 4 playoff matchups. And yet again, for the 3rd year in a row, we are going to have Team Canada versus Team Sweden in the Stanley Cup final. They are both 1-1 against each other, so this is for everything basically. Who is going to go on and win the Stanley Cup in year number 4? And Team Canada is going to win the battle versus Team Sweden, beating them in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final yet again. I mean, every single series has been that close. Game 7 every single time, with Team Canada coming out on top yet again, beating them 2-1 in the Stanley Cup final, as Canada is Stanley Cup champions yet again. Sidney Crosby is going to take home the Conn Smythe for Team Canada. Sid the Kid, baby, a natural born winner. And there he is, Connor McDavid, coming to lift the Stanley Cup for the 3rd time in the simulation, a 3-time Stanley Cup champion with Team Canada, as they win another Game 7 victory. Actually, I believe they only won 2 Stanley Cups. This is their 2nd Stanley Cup, right? Honestly, I have no idea at this point. I think they've only won 2. Yeah, 2-1. This is their 2nd Stanley Cup victory, as they are Stanley Cup champions in year number 4. For the playoffs, Philip Forsberg is going to have the most points at 24, followed by Mika Zibanejad's 22, Brad Marchand 22, William Nylander had 22, and Mikko Rantanen had 20. Mika Zibanejad is going to have the most goals in the playoffs with 15, followed by Philip Forsberg's 14 and Patrick Laine, who had 10. Mitch Marner is going to win the Vezina and the Hart Trophy, while Connor McDavid's going to win the Art Ross, and Pasta will take home the Maurice Richard. Adam Fox with another Norris Trophy. Lady Bing to McDavid. Linus Ullmark is obviously going to win the Vezina. I mean, he had 28 shutouts. And Alexander Barkov is going to win another Selke Trophy. At the end of year number 5, Team Sweden is back on top, losing 6 and 2 in overtime. They were actually tied with Team Canada, who also had 74 wins. Team USA had 73, Czechia 71, and Team Finland had 70. Mikko Rantanen is going to have the most points in the NHL with 132, followed by Patrick Kane, who had 130, the GOAT Nathan MacKinnon, who had 117, Leon Draisaitl had 116, Barkov 116, McDavid 115, Matthews 112, and Elias Pettersson 109. For goals, McDavid had the most at 69, nice, followed by McKinnon 62, Mikko Rantanen 60, Draisaitl 57, Kane 55, and Matthews 48. For defensemen, Roman Josi is going to have the most goals at 28 and the most points at 100, followed by Miro Heiskanen's 91, Adam Fox 90, Cale Makar 79, Mo Seider 75, and Quinn Hughes 75. Linus Ullmark is going to have the most wins by any goalie with 59, followed by UC Saros, who had 56, Connor Hellebuck 55, and Vanacek Vanacek 55. For shutouts, Allmark's going to have the most yet again, but this time with 22, followed by UC Saros, who had 20, Hellebuck had 14, and Darcy Kemper had 14. And this is our Year 5 playoff matchups. Will Team Canada and Team Sweden meet in the Stanley Cup Final yet again for like the 4th time? Or will new teams rise and actually go on to win the Stanley Cup? I'm looking at you, Finland, and USA. You guys have done absolutely nothing so far in the simulation. Can we at least get 2 new teams in the Stanley Cup Final, please? And of course, yet again, we have Team Canada versus Team Sweden in the Stanley Cup Final for the 4th year. Canada winning 2 of them and Sweden won 1 of them. But who is going to take home the Stanley Cup in year number 5? And yet again, Team Canada is going to go on to win the Stanley Cup as they beat Sweden in 6 games in the Stanley Cup Final. This is their 3rd Stanley Cup in 5 years. I mean, this whole simulation has been dominated by Canada and Sweden. Canada winning 3, Sweden winning 2. Actually beating Canada once in the Stanley Cup Final. And I mean, I'm not very surprised that Canada has been this dominant because they have basically the best team in the NHL. Although they've never finished first in the NHL in any years so far, but they show up every year in the playoffs, winning the Stanley Cup 3 out of 5 seasons. Team Canada is still on top of the hockey world, yes sir. Man, do we ever need to see a best-on-best tournament in the NHL? We haven't got one since 2016, and the last Olympics that NHL players were allowed in was way back in 2014, literally almost 10 years ago. We need to see the Olympics or World Cup of Hockey. We need to see something though for sure, because these best on best tournaments are literally the best thing to see, like in the simulation here. But anyways, congrats to Team Canada winning 3 out of the 5 Stanley Cups for the simulation. They are by far the best international team in the NHL. Philip Forsberg would have the most goals in the playoffs with 15 and the most points with 31. Actually, he was tied with William Nylander. They would each have 31 apiece, followed by Elias Pettersson, who had 29, Brad Marchand had 28, Connor McDavid 26, Mitch Marner 25, and the GOAT 23. Mikko Rantanen is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, the Art Ross, and the Hart Trophy, while Connor McDavid, he's going to take home the Maurice Richard. Adam Fox somehow is going to take home the Norris yet again. Patrick Kane is going to win the Lady Byng. Brad Marchand is going to take home the Conn Smythe. Linus Ullmark with another Vezina, and Alexander Barkov is going to take home the Selke. And that is going to do it for this video, boys. Team Canada is absolutely going to dominate as they win 3 of the 5 Stanley Cups, and Team Sweden are going to win the other 2. So the whole simulation was basically dominated by Sweden and Canada. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see next, and thank you all for watching. Until next time, don't be silly. Wrap your willy.